Kosas has a new addition to their Cloud Set line, which are these new Cloud Set loose powders that come in 4 translucent shades. I'm gonna thoroughly test them out for you today. You know, I'm very picky with powders. Let you know if these shades are gonna work for fair skin and whether or not this formula in general is worth the money as this new launch from Kosas. So let's get started. All right, let's get into this new Kosas Cloud Set powder, shall we? First off, this box is 100% agreed that this is the best loose setting powder they have ever tried. But then in super tiny fine print down here, it says based on a consumer participation study of 30 subjects after using Cloud Set loose for 1 day. So I don't feel like 1 day is enough to test a powder. That's a little bit of a crazy statistic. So I'm hoping that it's the best powder I've ever tried because that is what it's claiming to be. And I have 2 different shades here to try on for you. We have translucent buttery and translucent candy. So I have these first 2 shades, and they do also have a translucent peachy and a translucent velvety. All of these claim to be ultra sheer, by the way. So they do have a little bit of color to them, but a very sheer type of color. And let's read what these are all about. It says that it's an ultra translucent 12-hour setting powder that blurs, brightens, and sweeps away shine, not glow. It smooths pores and fine lines for an airbrushed look. Featherweight formula effortlessly layers for baking, melts into skin, never cakey, powdery, or drying, has bamboo stem extract which helps reduce excess oil. It's also talc-free and non-comedogenic, which means it will not clog your pores. It says safe for sensitive skin and clinically proven not to clog pores or cause breakouts. It's available at Sephora and Kosas since February 10th, so it is available now. A lot of great claims, and I'm really excited to try these on. It has been a hot minute since I've done a Kosas review, but they have their Cloud Set Powder Original, which I have here, which is the pressed version of their Cloud Set Powder. I do like this. I don't think it's a great under eye powder, so I'm curious to see if these loose versions are a good under eye and face option. I do tend to like loose powders more, so maybe if you tried this and you liked it but are looking for something a little bit more versatile, maybe this powder will be your girl. Let's go ahead and pop on concealer. I do already have my base makeup on. I will link below what I use. I'm gonna use my go-to concealer because I'm really familiar with how it looks and wears by itself and with different powders. So I wanted a really consistent type of formula. So that is the House Labs concealer in Fair Golden. Absolutely love this. So I'm just gonna do my normal amount. I do also have this new Revlon Glimmer Brightening Concealer. It's called Glimmer. It doesn't have shimmer in it though. And I've been really liking this as a face concealer, so I also want to test it with this. This shade, by the way, if your skin tone similar to mine, 125. Really, really nice, like neutral, almost olivey shade. I'm just gonna pop this on like the other imperfections that I want to sort of dull down, dark spots and whatnot, and then just going in and blending this with my sponge. So I do have the Kosas puff here. Really like the shape of this triangular puff. I've actually been loving using puffs for my under eyes. I used to really only use brushes, but I'm actually gonna do each shade on each under eye because I'm just gonna be wearing this makeup around the house, and I want to show you the difference between these two. I do have a preference that I'll touch on near the end of the video. Let's go ahead and start with the translucent buttery shade, which if you have fair skin like me, a color like this or colored powders in general, my first thought is it going to deepen my under eyes? The packaging is gorgeous, by the way. I absolutely love the color, and it has a really just big sort of opening to it, which I think is really helpful, especially when you're using a sponge or a brush. It's just big enough so you can actually get in there. So I'm gonna do this buttery shade on the left eye here before I set. I'm gonna go ahead and smooth out my concealer as I usually do to prevent any creasing. Taking the puff here, I'm gonna sort of load up the powder on here, and I like to pat it in the palm of my hand just to make sure it's even and you don't have like an excessive amount of product. A good tip as well is if you're doing the under eyes, make sure to sort of get it on the tip of the sponge as well, because sometimes that is the point that's actually going to hit the under eye skin. So I have the powder loaded here. Just gonna look up and pat this in. I'm just gonna go down the sides of my nose, into the smile lines, and in general just on the T-zone on this half of the face with the puff. So here's the half with translucent buttery. I do find this like is slightly yellow and deepens my concealer a little bit. Not really any more than like the Laura Mercier powder. The finish of this I think is gorgeous. It's definitely soft, and the fact that they're saying it's not too matte, like it still has glow to it, I think is 100% true. It does look very skin-like, which is what I expected from the Cloud Set line, just referring back to the pressed powder, is that it does set down your makeup, but it doesn't look powdery. In terms of the actual consistency of the powder between my fingers, it feels very, very thin and silky, and this does have a glow to it, meaning it's not a completely matte powder. There is some pearlescence in there, which sometimes I struggle with enhancing fine lines, but looking up close, I wouldn't say that I noticed that it's shimmery at all. Maybe in like daylight or something you might see like a little bit of a glow, but I think the shimmer is so fine that it kind of just looks like a skin finish. And then just taking what I have left on my puff, I am going to go ahead and set the rest of my face with this buttery color. I don't mind when products look a little bit yellow, especially if I have foundations that pull a little bit cool, but if you have the opposite problem, you might be more interested in the pink one. But I like to kind of go the opposite of what my skin naturally is. So if I have a lot of redness, I think yellow is a really nice neutralizing shade. I'm loving the finish of this powder, especially on the skin. There's not really any pores that are visible. It is super smoothing. I think the finish is perfect. It's really satiny and it doesn't look like powder. The finish is actually really reminding me of the Laura Mercier loose powder, but like less shimmery than this one, which I think is like the perfect adjustment, because I do like this powder, but it's sometimes just like, especially for the under eyes, a little bit too glowy, if you know what I'm saying. Now let's move over to Translucent Candy, which is sort of the ultra sheer rose color. Not gonna lie, this really scared me at first because I tried the One Size Ultra Pink powder and it's so pigmented. It looks like I put blush under my eyes. So let's test this one. I'm gonna use the same puff. I'm just gonna make sure I get the other color off. Okay, same technique here with that pink powder. Also working it into the palm of my hand. And whoops. Gonna smooth this out first. Now going in with the pink shade to set. Okay, here's the pink shade just on the under eyes. Honestly, like I like both of these shades. I do find like the pink one looks a little bit more natural on me, but I do like the yellow. I feel the yellow one is more brightening almost. The pink one maybe just exaggerates like the under eyes just a tad, just like the purpleness shade of them. So I'm actually quite pleased that these aren't super pigmented to the fact where I'm like, these are way too dark for fair skin. So they are quite wearable, which I like. I'm gonna take the rest of this pink powder and we'll go ahead and set the rest of my face. I probably wouldn't use the pink all over the face usually, to be honest, but I feel like it's really sheer, so it shouldn't make a huge difference. Okay, here is Buttery on this side and here's the pink shade. I would love to know your opinions in the comments, which shade you think you like better on me. Let me know below. So now that the face is set down, I'm gonna go in with some bronzer using my RMS Beauty Beach Walk Betty, one of my favorites. Yeah, definitely no problems with like powders going over this. It's really a beautiful finish. I'm also finding it looks less heavy on the skin than the pressed powder. Like this doesn't look too heavy on its own, but it definitely, I just find pressed powders in general, they're a little bit thicker, so they do just sit on the skin a tiny bit more, whereas loose formulas like this just really like meld in with the rest of your makeup, especially if you use a setting spray as well. And then for blush, using my RMS Beauty Bermuda Rose. If you haven't seen, I do have a swatch video of all of my blushes from RMS. This is sort of the pinky purple shade, which is definitely one of my favorites. I saw that RMS is having 20% off their site right now, and I believe a free mascara with a certain amount of purchase. You can use my code LindsayM20 anytime for 20% off, but if you wanted to get the free gift, I will link it below. Now with the blush on, you can actually see, I feel like, the difference between like my concealer was quite yellow and so was the powder versus this side. I do feel like things are blending in a little bit more. And then for my highlighter, I'm gonna use my go-to Gentle Waves Florisis Lilac Haze highlighter. They still have this collection on their site. Hopefully it doesn't go away too soon, but they usually are limited if you wanted to try this. Absolutely love it. It's such a pretty, really, really natural highlight. Just popped on a quick eye look, but I want to share the lip combo since I do have another new product. First, I'm just going to do my NYX Line Loud liner in Fierce Flirt, which is a really great cool tone pink. If you need any nude cool tone lip combos or cool toned lips in general, I have tons of videos where I do like ultimate swatch guides of like all my cool toned lip products, so be sure to check those out if you do need recommendations. And I'm also gonna fill in my lips a little bit with this. So this is actually another new product from the Revlon Glimmer collection. I saw this collection in Ulta. It just intrigued me, probably because I love sparkly stuff, but this shade, it's called Lavender Lust, and this is one of their like glitter glosses, which I have never tried before. So it has this really nice doe foot applicator, and it's gorgeous. The shade is stunning on its own, but it's also really pretty with a lip liner. What I like about this is like it's packed with glitter, but it's not very chunky, feels very smooth, isn't very scented at all. And you know how sometimes the purple like glitter glosses usually have a lot of blue reflect and they look like a little bit obvious almost? Like this just reads as sort of like a neutral pinky purple lip. It's just so pretty, so really recommend this. I was gonna do a video on the whole Revlon Glimmer collection. Let me know if you'd like to see that, because I will for sure do it. Here's the finished look with the new Kosas Cloud Set Powder. I will keep you updated and wear this until the end of the day. It's 3 o'clock, started a little bit late, but I have been testing this for a couple days now, so all my final opinions will be in the little next section. See you there. All right, it's the end of the night. Time for my check-in with the new Kosas Cloud Set Powders. Again, this side over here was the pink side, and this was the buttery yellow shade. They both perform the same, of course, really just the difference in tone. But speaking of wear, I do think this powder wears really nicely. Just overall on the skin, very healthy looking. It does control oil, not like completely matte, but it did sort of just overall make everything feel and look set in for the majority of the day. Getting a little bit of like oil breakthrough now at this point on the sides of my nose, but like with my forehead it did really well. In terms of under eyes, I have the standard amount of under eye creasing that I usually have with most powders. Just this eye I usually get a little bit more settling. This one looks good. So it's performing at par with my other powders that I do enjoy. I think that's kind of rare for these powders that aren't completely matte to actually perform quite well under my eyes. Usually I do have problems with them being thick or just like laying unflatteringly on my under eyes and really adding to the cakiness. But yeah, I think this one looks really good. Also on my dry skin, it is getting like a little bit of bunched up, which is again pretty typical for me. But I will say that the dry skin is not like being enhanced. Like I just tried that Maybelline Lumi foundation and like it enhanced my dry skin so much, but it's looking like good. It definitely could use like a little bit of smoothing, a little bit of touch up at this point, but so far I am very happy with it. I would say if you have like normal to drier skin and you like something that doesn't look powdery but you still want a powder, I would say that these are a really good pick. I also say that I like this better than the Laura Mercier one because it's a little bit less shimmery than that one, the talc-free version. I think this would also be beautiful if you're wearing like a more matte foundation and you want to add a little bit more skin-like glow to it. I think if you have oily skin, probably not going to be oil controlling enough for you because I still do get some like movement with it, and I do have more like normal to dry skin at the moment. But yeah, if you like this pressed version, I think you're probably gonna love the loose version as well. But if you found this one maybe a little bit too heavy, then the loose version you might also enjoy because it's definitely lighter. It does not feel like powder, it doesn't feel like drying, so I'm really excited about these actually. Definitely going to continue using this new launch from Kosas. Oh, also very sensitive skin friendly, which I love. No fragrance, no talc, did not irritate my skin. Actually feels really nice on my skin. Okay, those are all my details about this new Kosas powder. I would love to know your thoughts below if you're interested in trying this, and also which shade you do have your eyes on. I hope you found this helpful and enjoyable. Don't forget to subscribe, and I'll pop another one of my videos on the screen here so we could keep hanging out. I will see you over there. Bye.